Alright, hello people. Hopefully you can hear me. Oh wait, I think I have to... Hello? Let's see here. Alright, so I can hear you. You're not coming through my headphones for some reason. Man. Okay. I have an idea. Okay, how about now? Voice activity. Hello? Crap. I don't understand. Hello? 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 Hmm. Yeah, I heard that. So now my thing's working. Can you hear me? Can you hear it though? God. Okay. How about now? Is this one better? I switched the microphone. Okay. Okay, let me check on the chat now. Let's see, is it Fleegan? His voice is very low. Okay, so they said your voice is low. I think I can fix that. Sorry for the... Man, I thought I had it all set up just right here to get my headphones working, and it starts, and I guess nothing is connected right. I don't know what the deal is. Well, because I had to change all my crap, so that's the issue. And the stuff I have is cheap and low quality, so I need to replace it anyway. So I'm not optimistic. I'm just not. Maybe that's the wrong attitude. I don't know if I can turn you up though. I can turn up. Maybe I can turn myself down and my desktop volume up. I think that's the solution. I can't hear you right now. I changed my volume and now I can't hear you, which doesn't make any sense. There we go, now I can hear you again. I don't know why this thing phases in and out, too. My God. Okay, I think that this is probably better. I'll see what our friends in chat think. Fleegan, go ahead and talk again. Perfect. This is high quality. Okay. Yeah, we're waiting on Paulo. Then I'm going to mark the time right now so that I can edit and jump past this part. So we'll start fresh at that point. Which, as awful as that is, this is, I guess, a little bit better than average, these last few streams of the year. But I mean, fuck this year, right? I think it's appropriate. Crap, he still can't hear you. Yeah, because it's playing on mine. I think I just need to get rid of my headphones. I think that's just the issue. And then I'm just going to have to mute myself whenever anyone else is talking. Actually, I have push to talk on, so hopefully it should work pretty well. It's just I might be a little delayed in hopping in.
Well, let's hope that this works. It's really weird. You're using OBS, right?
Yes, I am.
And you have multiple audio sources set in the... I haven't used OBS in such a long time.
The really annoying thing is every single device I've ever had that's been recognized by the computer always has like different options that are identical, except they'll add like 5G or some other thing or some like letters to the end of it, and I never know what it means.
Well, that is strange.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem consistent of which one like works or doesn't. Hey Jay Willie, nice to see you. I'm just waiting for someone in my chat to confirm if people besides me, if we can hear you guys. Because if so, then we're good to go. Okay, yeah, it looks like anybody can be heard now. So it looks like the audio's all sorted out. And now everyone's here. Wow, how perfect. Fleegan, thank you so much for helping me work out the audio issues. Thank you, Paulo, as well. So let's see. It's about... Okay, so it's 12:10. I started a couple minutes late because I fudged on the stream key, because that changes sometimes randomly, too. So that means the first, 10 minutes or so, I'll make sure I edit it out. I think that worked on the last one. So how is everyone?
Well,
is my sound good. Okay?
Yeah, because I can hear a little other sound than just your voice.
Today, Audible is the standard. So if you can be heard and we understand it, that is the standard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And to answer your question, is that I'm alright, and I will have to go and but I will have. Well, I can't stay so long because I will have to go and eat lunch soon. But I still feel good. But I'm still annoyed, very much annoyed, not with any of you guys, I think you're great, but I'm annoyed generally speaking with things in the world, so. No, maybe it's with people, but not you guys, but people in general.
Yeah, I think most people, I guess, aren't particularly satisfied. Actually, I'm doing pretty good, actually. I'm pretty happy. I finally got, my job situation sorted out a little bit. And I can probably like move out, fairly early on in the new year. So that's all looking good because there was a lot of uncertainty around that for a while. So it feels pretty good to have some idea of like what a schedule will look like.
Like,
That's nice.
yeah. Do you
Yeah,
mind
it's
if I
it's
let
a
you
big
guys know
upgrade.
what
It's a
bothers me a lot with people?
I have no objections.
Good. Because
so
something that
oh sorry, what was that? Did you say you had a story?
sort of. Well, not really a story, more like like an observation, if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, it's that something that really, really bothers me with humans nowadays, not nowadays, but generally, that is pessimism. Like, I can't stand pessimism anymore. Like, I think I've become allergic to pessimism. I feel it's like the worst thing ever. Like, it is so completely counterproductive because, like, if I want something and then give up or feel it's hopeless, it's just gonna make things worse. It doesn't serve a purpose. It just helps. It just like making the bad things worse. It doesn't. It's like completely useless. It's absolutely like ridiculous to me. Like I've gotten so far as I have, and I just keep going, and I never like back down or give in because I don't have any pessimism.
Yeah, it's kind of a mind over matter situation, or like words of power and things like that. Like it comes off as a little bit woo, but there's enough like psychological impact that might as well.
Yeah, and I realize that the worst when I do my worst, the only time that I basically feel the worst and I'm failing the most, that is when I'm being pessimistic. That is my biggest fall. Like that is like hurting me in achieving my goals more than anything else. It's completely counterproductive. It's absolutely useless. I mean, it should be rejected all the time. Yeah, that's what I feel. Because otherwise I'm just making it worse for myself than others. And therefore I'm part of the problem and not the solution.
Yeah, it becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy. I know Ash said he had some thoughts on various topics. There was one thing that I wanted to go through, not the entire video because it's a little long. I don't know if you guys all watched it. Durst went over it on his stream last night, just like after I was finished watching it. It's that really funny video from that news group of the lesbian woman berating the young like what do we call the group? Like America First kind of guy. So it's a really interesting exchange.
Well, I have not seen that yet.
Okay, I'm gonna pull it up because it is really funny. I wonder how far behind the stream is though. But I think there are just like a few parts of it that I just wanted to point out really quickly. But most of it's kind of like lowbrow stuff. But like I said, it was pretty amusing. Because I'm looking over all the other stuff that like Jay Willie had put in the library, and it's all like depressing as hell. So we'll start with something more kind of fun. Ashley, are you talking right now? Your thing is flashing. I don't know if it's just like the thing picking up the noise or if you're like trying to talk.
I think it's just picking up my breath or something.
Oh,
No,
okay.
I wasn't talking.
I must apologize for putting all that depressing French stuff in the library, but I didn't know where else to put it. You're right. It's horrible. It's horribly horrible.
You must learn your lesson. No more France.
We're progress beyond the need for France.
Oh my goodness, I need to get a second monitor. I have about like 6 or 7 tabs right now, and like it's really like just finding the right one. Sorry, I'm like a little delayed. Okay, so I have the video up, and I'm gonna go ahead and start a little bit of it.
watched the video on the long stream.
Yeah.
Yeah, why?
Degeneracy.
Yeah, I'm a lesbian. You have a problem with me?
Well, you're being aggressive and Trump supporter.
Oh, I'm just asking you a question. How am I being aggressive? How am I being aggressive? I heard that you,
Offended.
Yeah, offended? I'm just curious. I heard you stomped on an LGBT flag here. Yeah, why is that?
Because people like you are being so aggressive that once the symbol of political sodomy is stomped on, you show where your loyalties truly lie. You don't stand for conservative values. You'd rather stand for your sexual degeneracy. Here you are with a boy's haircut and a sailor's tattoos, thinking you're some sort of man. Given conservative.
You're assuming that I identify as a man or I identify as some kind of BS pronouns, right? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, it seems very obvious to anyone watching. As soon as you approached me, I realized you were some sort of deviant.
Oh yeah, is that true?
Well, whether or not it's true, you're giving off a bad image, lady. I think you should.
I'm giving off a bad image? How so?
So that's kind of the tone of the whole exchange. But there's a part just like a couple of minutes down here where he kind of tears into her a little bit, and he tries to walk away, but you'll see that this definitely real lesbian, this definitely not fake lesbian, seems a little bit interested. So that happens in the first few minutes here. It gets a little heated, in like a hot way. Like, watch.
Oh, I'm literally just asking for a conversation. Why can't we have a friendly conversation? It seems like
You're a freak.
Yeah?
You are.
You have some balls, sir.
May God have mercy on you. Hope you come to Christ, and I hope you see the error of your ways someday. You need a good man to straighten you out.
Do you think that? Oh, you are a classic. You are a classic man. I have another question for you, since you're so smart, and you can't tell me anything besides I'm a freak. Please film me. This is hilarious.
You get one more question. What is it?
One more question. That's all you're gonna bless me with?
Yeah.
Yeah?
All right. Reporter, let's hear it.
So, again, I'm gonna ask you, as a conservative.
Okay. How are you conservative?
How am I conservative? Because I don't care what religion you practice. I'm not gonna shove my gay
That
agenda
sounds like
down your
liberalism.
throat. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds
All
like
right.
a
All right. Okay.
What do you conserve?
Dude,
What values do you fight for?
what values do I fight for?
Do you
I'm
proclaim-
pro-life. I'm also pro whatever you want. So freedom of choice.
That's literally
Being gay, freedom of choice. I'm
That's-
not talking about.
You realize even Obama in 2008 said he.
Okay. Okay, I have a question for you. I don't care about Obama. I'm not a Democrat.
You far left than Obama on social issues, and you.
Anyway, that's kind of how it just goes back and forth. So it's just a little bit of an echo of
Yeah,
the
it's
America.
just really awkward and unbearable
It's so
to
awkward.
listen to.
I enjoyed it, but yeah, it is pretty awkward. I mean, but the thing is it's awkward on both sides a little bit. You know, like that either side imagines, you know, that it's gonna. Yeah.
Yes.
I think we'll probably hear more about this guy though, because he was showing his D live. So there's another person to add to the queerosphere. You guys agree though? There was a lot of sexual tension in that first couple minutes.
Well, yeah, I guess. Like, what I basically felt is that the thing that bothers me the most was that he called her an LGBT whatever, like, which is like so stupid because like that's like a political statement, and how does he know that? Like, is he retarded or something?
What, you mean like the America First guy? Is he retarded?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I just like a lot of conservatism really just feels like underpants gnomes logic to me. You know, it's just you conserve the thing, you get the result or whatever. I've just always felt like if there's value in something, you can just make the case for it. maybe sometimes things fall through the crack, right? Like you don't realize why things are valuable, and in that sense, there's an argument to be made for some traditional values or whatever. But generally, it is kind of funny to see this woman is, I guess, basically a libertarian, I guess, minarchist, statist libertarian, right? And I guess I don't really mind seeing that attitude infiltrating into Republicans because it's basically it's just libertarian partyism, I guess, all over again. But I don't really see it mattering one way. So mostly it's just kind of the entertainment value of the whole thing. Because basically what's happening is those two are arguing over the lesbian question, right? And then, however that gets resolved, whatever picks up the mantle of the Republican Party, whatever forces are leading it, we know for certain that they're just going to agree with 99% of everything the Democrats do, and they're going to continue to sell off the unborn into debt slavery to, benefit banksters and corporatist cronies and everything. Because really, that's probably the most long-standing and consistently upheld American value. Like when you say you're a conservative, to be an American conservative, our strongest, most widely held value, the one that we invest the most in by far, is robbing the unborn.
Oh yeah, but also killing the unborn is something although it seems like that also seems to be very American because like America is the only country that seems to like have this like I mean I've heard more people in America worshiping abortion than God. So
the thing is though, okay, like I get that when I talk about robbing the unborn, immediately it kind of invokes this. Well, what about abortion? But I like to just completely, I don't know, like ignore that because I just feel like, yeah, like killing a baby is pretty basic. It's just like a basic like a savage kind of a thing to do, right? But like to rob the unborn and to create systems that promote like their debt slavery, right, through your monetary policies and through your governments, like that's so much more like calculated and nefarious. It's so much more just like mustache twirling than just like somebody who's like, I don't know, kind of dumb or not really thinking properly and just kind of like is impulsive and kills a baby.
Yeah, it's
I don't know if that makes a lot of sense,
but like comparing to people being evil and people being so stupid that they are evil.
Yeah, and it's apples and oranges, a little bit, killing babies versus indenturing them into slavery.
Yeah, it's to compare it, it's kind of weird. Like, is it more acceptable to kill someone or to make sure that they're gonna have a very hard life for the rest of their life?
I think it's equally accepted depending on society. Well, technically no, it's actually kind of acceptable everywhere, if you think about it.
Well, from the like antinatalist perspective, right, or from a perspective which I've argued, right, is that it creates like a duty. It creates something that parents must do. It creates a bar and a standard, right? They must produce children that reach a viable like mature age and capacity, without them preferring to have never existed or to die. Right, and then basically from that perspective, abortion wins out, right? Because you're saying, okay, well, I don't want to accept that responsibility, so we're just going to cut our losses here. Which, from a strictly pragmatic standpoint, there's a lot to be said for that, compared to this, debt slavery model.
Yeah, that actually makes sense. I do agree with that because I've always thought of this. If I'm going to live in a place or in a country where I can't legally have a family, right? Then you have to move, right? So therefore, why would my parents even bother with creating me there in the first place? Why couldn't they just have moved me somewhere else or just not created me at all? Because why create a person that can't achieve happiness that they want? It's kind of weird. So I do agree that makes sense. I'm happy to be alive and I will be able to succeed at my plans anyway. But from a perspective, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
That's actually related to one of the articles I found, which will be a really quick one because we don't need to read the whole thing, because it's kind of dumb. It's really just a Reddit post that somebody reposted into an article form. Let me grab that really quick.
I just need to add one thing when it comes to people, example when it comes to people being raised by lesbians, and that relates to both the article and the clip you showed me. That is that, would I rather be raised by lesbians who are decent or a straight couples who are like hardcore leftist. Well, a lesbian couple, of course.
I guess that might be a form of ideological determinism. Maybe. or not, or it might just be a statement of like a preference of being around one versus the other.
Yeah, like I would basically say that those like being raised by like extreme leftists seem to be hell on earth, like, and being raised by better people would be like preferable all the time, if that makes sense.
Well, and okay, so this ties into a lot of what you were talking about, just because like so the headline of it, or the subject is very incendiary, right? It's oh, I hated growing up with gay parents. So you imagine, right? Like, for me, my immediate image was, oh, this was a person raised by two dads, and something about, you know, like the lifestyle or whatever, or something about who they are. So something that's like very essential to the fact that they have gay parents is going to be like the cause or an issue of a problem. But it turns out they kind of buried the lead. You got to get halfway through this thing before they mention that. Well, they mentioned early on it's two lesbians, right? Which is already like very different. It's two lesbians. It's two man-hating feminist lesbians that he says caused him to internalize hating himself, and who conceived him through in vitro, through an anonymous donor. And he talks about that, you know, because they chose to make that decision, he just doesn't get to know who his dad is ever, and that it makes, you know, his existence just feel like a commodity. And I thought that was like that's the real issue, right? And I think when people talk about issues related to surrogacy, artificial uteri, etc., like those are the concerns that really make sense. And like that would be a valid concern regardless of whatever the gendered configuration is, right? Like I feel like even if you have like two, well, I guess it would be one biological parent who's married, right? But then there's a fertility issue. I feel like full disclosure is like, as the offspring of that, you know, configuration, whatever it is, like you should be allowed to know like all of the parties involved when it's determining like your DNA and your biology. I could kind of see how like a surrogate might be anonymous, because that's like a very like transient kind of thing. But I could also see the argument that even that is not preferable to just kind of having everything be open. So, you know, like there's no shame in the process. Why, you know, why hide the people contributing it, and why not invite, I don't know, like some kind of celebration of that, even if it's like a minimal contribution.
Like for when I have my children, they were probably gonna know who the egg donor is. And if it, well, to the most of it, it's possible to find out about her. Like, so at least I will try to make it, but sometimes it might not be possible to find out all the time. But if I can find out, I will definitely prefer that over the other. Unless, and usually that is usually how things goes, because an egg donor usually have to be more involved because of the process is more difficult. Unless you use a frozen egg donor. While a sperm is very easy to like access without getting involved at all, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there's some kind of basic mechanics of it that kind of, I guess, scale out when discussing that. In the chat, Jim here is asking if we're watching Martin Walls. Martin Walls. I don't know who that is. I haven't heard of him. But I said I'd look into it. Like I have a tab open for it. I guess he wants us to watch it now, but I don't know what that is.
Might be a trap.
Go ahead and make the case, though. Make the case in the chat. I think that's totally fine, but I don't know if we'll get into that now. I have a number of different articles to kind of just like throw up and then throw a couple things at, see if anybody wants to chime in, or maybe we can just talk about whatever. There's not really a strict plan here.
I mean, like, I've basically seen a lot of people, whenever people are complaining about gay couples having children, like, all their complaints is almost never addressed to those people being gay. It's always to do with those people being leftist, which is usually the underlying issue. almost all the time. I don't think there's an exception to that I've seen. Not lefty, but promiscuous, which, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Like, it's usually not the sexuality that is like the issue. It's usually people just pretend it is to like not discuss the issue with promiscuity or this issue with leftism. And I'm talking about, I'm not talking about,
I largely agree. Like, I just want to say, regarding the promiscuity and things like that, I think that, yeah, like, as usual, conservatives can make a lot of, you know, pretty okay arguments just based on, you know, consequences and pragmatism. But it seems like that's rarely the angle. It's always this bait and switch, right? Where it's like, here's why it's so good. But then, like, that's not the reason, though. The reason is because this is, like, divinely ordained. This is which kind of is silly, because it would be the correct thing and the right path and the thing that they would choose even if it weren't advantageous, right? So then it's a bit of a contradiction that they even kind of lube it up that way by saying, here's the super practical, super awesome thing.
And also, like, when you look at society, look at like more a right-wing economy, and you know what I mean by that, compared to a left-wing one, right? If you're against promiscuity, you don't need to like impose laws penalizing it. You just need to make the market more free, because then the people who are promiscuous are going to suffer more than those who are monogamous as a result of people being free, and not for and like freedom of association and disassociation. People that do bad decisions will suffer then, and people who do good decisions will be rewarded. And promiscuity usually ends up people being people having to suffer, and that's just like, and that's the reason why so much leftism are pushing for promiscuity, because they want people to do welfare state more, if that makes sense. Like, you actually was the one who made me think in this ways, because you mentioned in a video that leftism leads to family breakdown, and I was thinking about how, because it makes sense, and then I come to this conclusion. Does that make sense?
Wait, which conclusion? I missed that part.
Well, the conclusion was that that like promiscuity, the reason the left promotes promiscuity is because if people are promiscuous, then that means that they're gonna want to have more of a leftist economic structure to take care of their old mistakes all the time. While if they're free market, then people or capitalism or right-wing economies, then people can't be as promiscuous without negative consequences.
Oh yeah, and that I think that's kind of I think a lot of people just speak of it in that way, where they talk about like humans being relatively R versus K, and then just, you know, those mapping strictly onto conservative versus progressive.
And then while you have some retards like Nick Fuentes who think that you can have a left-wing economy and then still have the good things about a right-wing economy coming out of it, which is like retarded.
Well, it's more just insane that he thinks that's a new idea.
So yeah, it's like being tried ever. That's the reason why all the right-wing like parties in all Western countries are failing and doing so worse and are destroying everything, is because they have done exactly the thing he's telling them to do and pretend that they haven't done before.
Well, and I feel like I'm taking crazy pills just because, you know, everyone, it seems like the overwhelming majority of Americans all want their gibs from the government right now. And, like, there's more energy surrounding this than there is combating, you know, any of the government's regulations that set the precedent that allows them to, you know, cause the damage that, you know, people are now, you know, begging for relief from. And it's pretty frustrating. That's kind of just been the tone of the entire the entire, I guess, reaction to everything in 2020, which is why I've never really been that excited about you know, people who like want to stand up to against these mask mandates and stuff. It's just kind of always been too little, too late. And then at the end of the day, here we are at the end of the year, and all these so-called conservatives are, you know, begging for more money, begging for that $600 to be, you know, tripled and then some. And it's...
Well, like, here's basically how I see when it comes to, like, gibs. It's that if the government are giving gibs to people who deserve it less than I do, then they should give it to me too, or not all. Like, I prefer not giving to anybody, but if I had to pay for it, then I should get it.
Yeah, and I guess it's a fair enough argument. But if you kind of look at things in the broader scheme, I don't know. Part of me kind of thinks like you're participating in the destruction of like your country and your home.
Yeah, but all countries are bad anyway.
Yeah. I mean I guess yeah I can be hungry and noble. Or I guess if I'm realistic, eventually, they kind of give you no choice. They just it just goes straight into your direct deposit, and there it is.
Yeah, I guess that's it. Yeah, you're right. They still understand everything. I know you're right anyway when it comes to that. Because it's like the whole idea, like the best thing is like, of course, freedom of association and disassociation. And therefore, like, which is like optimal, right? So therefore, you can discriminate however you want. You should be allowed to discriminate however you want in the free market because it's your property rights, right? But if you have forced to associate with something, like through taxation, then they can't discriminate against us with that money because because we paid for it, so therefore it belongs to us too. Like, they can't just say no, it doesn't belong to you, even though you paid for it, because discrimination is bullshit. Like, no, that's unfair. Like, and they have it completely backwards. Rather than the ethical standpoint is to say, if there is like taxation of forced association, that means that all that should be given to everyone that are paying into it, right? And if something is in the free market, then you should be allowed to associate freely whoever you want, right? But they have it completely backward. They want the state to forcefully take people's money and then discriminate against the people who pay the money. And then they want the private sector to not be allowed to discriminate. It's like the antithetical of property rights. And that's why I don't see why I can't call these people evil. And I don't feel like I should feel bad for them if they get raped or attacked or stabbed or something like that, because they are doing it. They're fine with doing it to innocent people all the time. So why the fuck should I cry that it happened to them?
Yeah, and I think it might be distasteful, right, to say you don't care about things like that. But I do also think that nobody should be held like based on how you feel, right? That shouldn't really be something someone should be able to hold you to as a standard. Also, hello to Kapow. The artist.
It's Raw Unplanned Dance.
I was gonna say, yeah, the artist formerly known as Raw Unplanned Dance.
Yes, I still do work on that project at times, but I've added Bloodstained Men Pants, so I'm making some more interesting content coming up soon. So that's a shameless plug, and now I'll be done. What are you guys talking about?
Well, I was just gonna ask. Do you have like 3 channels now, or did you just change the name of like one of them?
No, Kapow has always just been my handle on anything, voice and chat, or like it's like my Instagram and all that stuff, Discord and Tiny Chat. But Raw Unplanned Dance was a specific project that I was doing at the time that I met you and Prince of Queens.
Oh, right on, right on. I actually need to learn a dance. There's a dance.
Come to Hong Kong?
Sorry, what?
Can I come to Hong Kong?
Well, I mean, you could. You're gonna get quarantined if you go there, and I'm not there.
Yeah. Like, are you gonna be here for a while? Cause I can fucking dox myself. I don't give a shit. I don't care. No, if you care, but I am really close to you, and I actually went to high school, like really close to yours too. We might be rival schools or something. I don't know.
Oh, in Minnesota?
Yeah, I went to school in Eden Prairie, Minnesota.
Oh, right on. Yeah, we should figure something out. Yeah, we don't want to get too doxy. But yeah, my plan is to stay in America for a hot minute.
Oh.
And I have retirement money. I took my
Like how
retirement
hot?
money.
Like sriracha hot? Like what kind of hot minute are we talking about?
As long as there's not snow. I don't know. I'm not used to this is like the worst year ever weather-wise for me. Because I get all of the coldest days of Minnesota and all of the hottest days of Hong Kong in the worst year ever.
What year is it? Is this year of the rat?
Yeah, this is Year of the Rat, which is very appropriate.
Oh my god, it's so fucking perfect. I don't know what the element is, but I so yeah, I guess Spacepan introduced me somewhat. I have not met Ashley Messenger. I do know Herr Fliegen Forst and Jay Willie. But how are you all?
Quite all right.
Nice.
I would say hungover, but I only have myself to blame for that.
You're having a happy New Year's.
Yeah, you're gonna have to rest that one off in time for the new year then to get yourself a new one.
Yeah, I'm alive, which is more or less about as good as I get. So, and doing reasonably well. Had a strange Christmas with family members coming over and getting extremely drunk, which is always, well, interesting. I don't have a huge amount to say about it.
No, that's cool. It's like the small talk is so fucking annoying, but at least I know who everyone's voice is now, you know?
Yep. Yeah, especially because I can't get the window lined up right to show everyone's names lit up on Discord yet. I'm leaving room for improvement.
So what type of projects and stuff have you been working on? Like right now, I'm kind of like appropriating white trash culture. I'm kind of doing like a Tiger King like haircut sort of, except it's a flat top on the top, and then there's some flow on the back. And then I'm working on some intactivist projects, mostly. What about you, Spacepan? Are you just kind of doing this show now, it seems?
Well, okay, this is a little embarrassing. I got distracted by a couple of things. One of them is my paper magic cards are here, which I haven't touched since I moved. So it was kind of fun to look over those again and play a few games of good old paper magic. But that kind of became a thing where I'm just like sinking my time like sorting pieces of paper. It's very calming. It feels nice to do that. And then I gave Final Fantasy XIV a try also. And now that trial period is over, I'm taking a break from the video games. I probably played more video games in 2020 than I have in the past like 5 or 6 years put together.
Thing, though. I think it's a good, like, were they good video games and were like the ones that are current or old, or like did you enjoy them? Were they
mostly old? Mostly it was, what was it? Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, 10, 10 2, 12, and Persona 4. No, at the very end of that one. That's the last one I'm wrapping up here.
Persona 4, yeah.
Yeah, so it's been fun. Oh, and Romancing Saga. That one has like 8 playable characters, so you're meant to beat the game 8 times. But it's kind of like all the same quests, so it's not really like designed well for a game that's fun to replay. But I beat that like 5 or 6 times.
Yeah. Then how was Dream Daddy?
I don't know what that means.
Sorry. I never played that dating. I never played like a dating sim, to be honest.
No, I haven't either. The only one that I considered was the KFC one because it looked pretty good and it was free.
Funny.
Let's see. I had a couple of other things that looked interesting here. We were talking a little bit about well, I guess it was kind of related to artificial uteri, surrogacy, things like that. And there was this article that Jay Willie had posted. I think you posted it kind of shortly after. Well, when was it? Maybe a week ago? The France one? Here we go. Oh, no. Okay, these are 2 separate stories. Oh, yeah, the other one's very sad. My goodness. Okay, found it. This one, Macron gambles on cultural shift with bill allowing IVF for lesbians.
Yay.
Let's pick up the term lesbian. Like, I'm just done.
This
Like,
every
after
time I
watching-
hear it, it goes in
after
my
watching-
lesbian question conspiracy pile.
After watching this documentary about the Isle of Lesbos and the people that live there who are lesbians, as residents of that island, like, I'm just, like, it's so annoying that that term was created. I'm seeing, like, how, like, there's no reason for them to change their language of what they call themselves, you know?
Well, yeah, because I think that island isn't it kind of just a myth that it was particularly lesbian?
Can you say that again? When Kapow's mic is open, it's really hard to understand you, Spaceman.
Oh yeah, Kapow, sometimes you have some notifications and some echo. But no, actually, was it you who was telling me about this? The island of Lesbos and like something about the history behind it was
Yeah.
all bullshit and it's really just a myth.
Sappho, yeah.
Okay, but
who
that's
originally
really
lived on the
funny.
island,
You know,
and it's where the term sapphic comes from, and lesbian as well, obviously, from the island. But there's no real evidence that she was actually a lesbian, funnily enough. Her poems that are surviving are extremely fragmentary and threadbare. In fact, I think I sent you, Derek, I sent you the entire corpus of everything that's left from her that hasn't been just lost to time, and it's literally like 20 lines or something like that. And from the little that is known about her, she was, there's nothing to suggest that she was interested in women and only women, which is what the term lesbian means. So,
yeah, okay, this just makes me want to like spread a rumor, right? And then see if like down the road it gets like named after a thing.
That'd be great. I like that kind of thing. It's like watching, it's kind of like, have you ever put like a little sailboat down the, like, a little waterway and watch it like float along? It's like, what the fuck is
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
happen
then you say
this
hi to the
little
clown.
tiny boat? We have no idea, but it's like fun to watch.
Yeah, like we could spread some like really scandalous rumor like about like I don't know, like Amy Comey Barrett or something. We'll say like I don't know, like she's into like mud sports or something.
What sports?
And then there'll be this like rumor about like after she dies, right? That like whoever takes over her seat, that like the seat is like that she I don't know, something related to poop. That's off the top of my head. I could think of a better one. Give me a minute. I'll think of a better one another time. Of funny rumors that you could spread that then become like terms for lesbian history.
Why can't we all just be fucking gay? Like, what the fuck?
That's actually
We ask that question quite a lot. We say, why can't we just have the homo state? And apparently people take issue with. Apparently people think that's unrealistic.
Why?
How would it be unrealistic? Like, I'm sure it would be work. It would be like people would get shit done, you know.
Like, we would be the most productive state ever. Like, we would be so productive that we would have so much money that we can have a positive birth rate without women. That's successful by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, I think Hedonia Matrix is gonna happen before that though.
Wait, can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Just you get hooked into the Matrix and it's like heaven. It's like nothing but pleasure, and you're just like sustained in a tube forever.
That sounds horrible.
Oh, it's fine. You're such a don't be such a technophobe.
Why not? I like being that. I'm so positive that even negative emotions is positive to me.
No, you'd be fine. It'd be fine.
I mean,
No, it'd be horrible.
I understand that you're just kind of pissing about, but the term homo state, I mean, that kind of thing already kind of exists in miniature as far as I understand. Like, there are particular districts in cities like San Francisco and New York and whatever that are just full of gays. Well, in every city I would expect. And I mean, unless you're expecting that they're all just going to be clones of you, basically, and Jay Willie in the homo state in terms of their sensibilities and so on. Those kinds of places don't seem the sort of place you would be at home, like, politically speaking, because more gay men have well, yes. So, because most gay men have very, I guess, mainstream political views or establishmentarian views, so would it actually be that great for someone like you, Eric?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're talking status quo gays, right? But of course, that's kind of the only place to get them, right? That's so
yeah,
it's a
so
fair
in
enough
other
point.
words, yeah. So if we just converted all of the gay men into an alternative universe version of them that are more like you, well, yeah, but then you might as well say if pigs fly.
Well, okay, but gay pills, right?
I mean, these cities, like in Germany, it's Cologne, is like one of the gayest cities on the planet. They don't attract gay men per se. They attract a certain type of character who is a gay man. So I don't even know if they are representative of the gay men in general. It's just the ones that feel the need to go live in a very gay city.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I legit think that once we have like the gay pill and vice versa, like you'll see all kinds of reasons, and you'll probably even see straight men like making up like all kinds of like weird reasons. They'll be like, oh, well, if I take the gay pill, it'll help me work out better or something. And it's like, oh yeah, that sounds plausible enough, right? They'll just like find some other, oh, I didn't really want to be gay, but I just wanted to really work out a lot, and you know, it just really works or whatever. Or it'll just be totally destigmatized.
So many people on both sides that would just take the pill because they think that all men are bad, all women are bad, and then they experience the other gender, and they realize that they used to believe the grass was really on the other side and return to what they used to be. Or they just don't, they just do whatever they want because like most people, irrespective of their gender, tend to be retarded.
Correct.
Well, there'd be way more demand though, right, for the gay pill than the straight pill. I mean, for starters, just because of the size of the potential market, right? And then yeah, I think the incentives are just set up that like there's not enough gay disadvantages, and then there's too many advantages to being a straight man.
I would say that the only gay disadvantages is between some guys that say that they don't like to be gay because all the relationship fails. But the only reason that happens is because they only date guys that are retarded.
Oh my god, I just wrote a script for a horror movie. You guys want to hear my script for a horror movie?
Why I'm like the way I am, I guess. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is my horror movie, okay? So it starts off and it's basically oh, what was that movie about the fat chick? Bridget Jones's Diary. Okay, so imagine a movie. The first half is like a gay Bridget Jones's Diary, which has probably happened before, right? And then they take the straight pill, right? And they can't deal with all these gay men they're dating because gay men are the worst. And then they start trying to date women for the last half of it, and that's the horror movie.
Like anyone who can't deal with gay men, use Hamlet.
I like it. I like it. We'll have to sit down and talk a little bit of the contract a little bit over some coffee or something. But wait, who's producing this?
Who's producing what?
This film.
What film?
Like, who would your ideal, like, what ideal producer you would want?
Oh no! Oh, I have no idea. I would just send an email and then hope that somebody steals the idea.
And also, people doesn't have to change their sexuality to actually change their sexuality. If someone decides that they want to be with women instead or with men instead, they can try to date people of that other gender, and then see how people are responding to them, right? Because if you want to have an experience as a gay man or as a straight man, you just have to date men and women, and then you will get the authentic experience about that would be like. Except you will have less emotional baggage to deal with when you do it. If you, like, I've tried to like sort of want to be considered like dating women and all that, and that was just they basically kind of equal to men. Well, they might just be women in Africa, I suppose, but because Western women are kind of retarded. But The same goes for masculine men who are gay, unfortunately, but not to the same extent. So like, I don't think there's that much of a difference from dating men and dating women. It's just that they are both very, like, horribly annoying, but they're like, both are that. It doesn't matter the gender, they're like the same. Well, basically the same. They're like, the average might be different, but on the pool of the average of what you're gonna date are going to not be that different, depending on their gender. It's gonna be about the same.
Probably more similar than we're comfortable admitting.
Yeah, I suppose. Like, I would say we are different on average, but there are a lot of... The average is not that different. It's just different, but so a lot of people that you're gonna date are probably gonna be in the same area on that scale. So I would say that if somebody decides that they only date bad women, only date bad men, right, or the people that are retarded, right, it's actually more like of a you problem or a me problem rather than a man problem or a woman problem or a gay problem or a straight problem. Because if somebody only dates women or men who are retarded, then what they should do to not do this is to date better men or better women. And because if they only get fucked over, then the standards aren't high enough. Or if they don't find anyone, because none of them meet the standard, then the standard is too high. It's always the people who complain about being gay or straight, not all, but most, they are in a way sort of like putting responsibility on the gender they're dating rather than and not on themselves, right? And I think that's the reason why they're failing at getting good relationship, because they don't take responsibility.
Yeah. It makes sense for someone to be skeptical, right? Anytime someone comes forward with that. But there may be those cases where it really is just kind of hopeless. I would tend to doubt that, though, if we're talking about like a woman or a gay man. Basically, only people who are like strictly looking for women, I think, would find themselves in that territory.
I think there are people who like men that feel that they're hopeless, but that's just because they date guys that are retarded.
Yeah, well, that would be discouraging, you know.
They shoot the retarded guys all the time, right? And that's why they're suffering. And then you think all guys are like that, but in reality, it's the guys that they pick that are like that. And that's their problem. They just have to suffer if they don't realize that.
So I noticed on this, just to shift a little here, on this Macron story, this one was from the summer of 2019. So I wonder if this bill passed or if it was just like a splashy like headline that he sort of put it forward.
I don't know.
But yeah, people comment on this a lot. Whenever anybody discovers the artificial uteri, you'll see a bunch of people saying, oh, this is going to be so great, it's going to liberate men, right? And then, of course, you have to remind everyone that, you know, the way that we're going to see this technology get regulated is going to be in a way that's going to be, like, strictly, like, gender separated and, like, ludicrously unfair. And they're going to make up whatever rationale they need to put it forth that way. At least that's my prediction.
Yeah, the technology to actually grow a full human being from a zygote in like an extra uterine environment is a very long way off. Most of the stuff that gets called artificial uteri is really more just like an incubator for preterm birth, where the implanted fetus is already like 20 weeks old or something like that, or 15, which isn't the same thing as growing a full human being. And even if and when the technology does exist, it's not going to be for the average person, and especially not for the average man. So forget it.
That's why I think that surrogacy is far more viable, because, like, I mean, at least for me, I just have to save up to have $13,000, and then if I'm in line, then I'm good to go. But that might just be South African privilege, I suppose.
Yeah.
Didn't they go ahead and try to ban it in Sweden? Like, even
Yeah, they
more
did,
than
but-
it already is.
Oh, yeah, actually, rather than France, Macron did not want to legalize it in France, but he wanted to make, if the people do it outside of France, that will still be recognized, if that makes sense, right? In France, right? While in Sweden, they have it, you can't do it in Sweden, you have to, but if you go somewhere else, it's fine. But they wanted to become like France is now, and France wanted to become not like France is now, if that makes sense. So Sweden went like backwards, or wanted to go backwards, but haven't succeeded.
Backwards in a good way?
No, in a bad way. They wanted to make it more. They wanted to make it illegal if people do it in other countries, as what France are now. Or France wanted to make it legal in other countries, but not in France. You get it?
Yeah, I caught up. Wait, so did we find out anything about this law? I guess it doesn't really directly affect any of us, but it's kind of interesting.
Well, it can affect me.
We did just basically gift that to lesbians in Switzerland. It was tied into like a gay marriage law. Nobody read. Everyone's like, oh, yeah, gay marriage. We really need that. Let's not read the fucking details of what the fuck we're voting on. And now there's a reason why at the celebrations for that law passing there was literally no males. Like, the pictures, it's like so many goddamn lesbians. It's really hard to look at, actually. But imagine all the lesbians you can imagine and then shoot yourself in the head because you can't bear it anymore. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're right. It's like why the fuck they want to, if they only want to, like, this article in the French article, right? That is so gynocentric that a lesbian woman thought it was too, like, lesbian-centric. They say, oh, they're only going to be lesbian-centric with this. And she was a lesbian who said that, so that's kind of like, that's a lot, if that makes sense.
The next article I have up here is this one about MGTOW, and the headline, I think, kind of tells the whole story, but I just think it's interesting to kind of keep tabs on what, I guess, are the, I don't know, is it popular, but what popular conceptions of what, you know, various manosphere movements are. And what's amusing about this is it seems like it's very, very kind of behind the curve, because I think right now what people are starting to think about is what inceldom is bitterly jaded but potentially valid, right? Like, that's the point I think people should be at and beyond. So this person, I guess, is struggling with the concept of MGTOW, and there's this classic thing. I need like a catchy term for it, but it's this sort of like fake-ish things that like moderates do, right? Where you always basically set up straw mans on each side. It's kind of like a South Park thing, you know? It's a way to have your cake and eat it too. And it's sort of like a fallacy of nuance, right? You acknowledge a thing, you add a but, and because the but cushions it in a way that's non-specific, all you've done is basically like set up two ludicrous extremes and then say, well, the truth has to be somewhere in the middle here. And of course it comes off with this implication where I'm so knowledgeable about the thing because I know that it's somewhere nuanced and in the middle. Does what I'm describing kind of make sense? Is your Tim Pool senses being activated a little bit, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense. Like what you're saying, I've heard it's like, it's a logical fallacy that the truth is something in between. Like, that makes no fucking sense to say that the truth is somewhere in between. Like, if I, for example, say yes, another person say no to something, then that only makes the truth maybe all the time. Like, what the fuck? It makes no sense. Like, people who say that the truth is somewhere in between, they basically just want to talk about something, but have a clear conclusion or a solution, but they just don't want to be bothered with coming up with the solution.
But it would be so much easier to just say, I think both positions are wrong.
Yeah, it's a cop-out.
It's just not a straight line between 2 points that exists anyways. Like, kill all babies and whatever the opposite of that would be. There's no straight line connecting like those dots. So why the fuck do people always say that? It must be somewhere in the middle. Like, what the fuck does that even mean?
Yeah, okay. The example for this one would be like saying, look, I think it's a little bit ridiculous to say that every single baby should get murdered, but let's be realistic. We can't assume that every single baby is going to not get murdered. And it's like, yeah, like no shit. Like,
like, of course people are gonna get murdered, but that doesn't, we should, like,
like a single infanticide will occur at least to satisfy the conditions of this very, very nuanced position, right?
So,
Like, we can't save all lives because people are retarded going to breed kids they can't support. And if you really cared about like not having people dying, like removing intervention in people's economies would probably solve a lot of problems. Which means that the solution is not like in between anything. It's like very much on one very conclusive direction, if that makes sense.
So Derek, like, overall, what's the thesis of the article? Like, what does he believe? I'm assuming it's a man writing it.
Yeah, just give me a minute here. Yeah, the name is Boss Hunting. And I guess that sounds male, but man, Boss, is that a name? Wait, no, Boss Hunting might be like a moniker. That's not a real name. I caught up.
That sounds kind of like
Wow.
Max Power or something, you know?
Boss Hunting. You know what? It's actually very short. I'm just gonna speed read through it really quick. Oh, but I don't know if my thing works while I'm in a separate window. I'm gonna try it, and we'll see what happens. Let's see. It says, in recent years, coinciding with the rise of the internet. Did you guys hear what I just read?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. That means I don't have to look at the Discord window like a boomer to use my push to talk. Okay, in recent years, coinciding with the rise of the internet, many unfamiliar movements have taken root across the world. Among the most extreme of these movements is MGTOW, or men going their own way. I do not use the word extreme in a negative sense. MGTOW is a group of men who use logic and reason to its nth degree. Doesn't nth just mean, like, a degree? Like, that doesn't necessarily mean it's the maximum, does it? Sorry, is that
it?
it?
Actually is used like that.
Oh, it is used that way. Okay, so I'm retarded.
In
Okay.
math, so.
Wow, I'm learning all kinds of things today. This is great. To my fellow millennials, these fellows are certainly woke. The MGTOW movement has... Wait. So they're... But woke has an SJW connotation. I guess it also is like a more general term, but... anyway. It's grown rapidly in recent years as many men across many nations continue to become dissatisfied with our rapidly changing Western society. Yeah, this is an idea that's... This is some copium, yeah. Maybe not for our writer here, but this is the MGTOW copium, right? That it's this massive movement that has so much behind it, which is unfortunate. I'd like that to be more true.
I don't think so.
Let's see, MGTOW believes above all else that the system is now rigged against males, with governments and courts of law prioritizing the rights of women. That's fair enough.
Well, I think there's one problem with that.
Yeah, it's not fundamental enough, right? Because a lot of MGTOW does go to say that, you know, they'll point to this, right? But it's actually a cause of something even more fundamental about the sexes.
Which is gynocentrism.
Yeah. So you might have some bickering as to whether or not this is going deep enough, but I think this is probably a more broad thing, because I think anyone who believes in, you know, gynocentrism and kind of the more broad underlying things, like they're gonna also acknowledge the effects of it too on the surface.
But also, like, if people say that they say that the MGTOW think laws are prioritizing women, like, no, they don't think that, they know that. It's like I don't think that I'm talking to you guys. Like, I know I'm talking to you guys. Like, it's not like I believe. It's a knowledge. It's like, what the fuck? It's a fact, not an opinion.
They claim that Reddit is the number one MGTOW hub is Reddit, and I don't know. I guess, is that technically defensible? I feel like going to the Reddit of the thing is kind of it's kind of, you're getting the Reddit version of the thing. You know what I mean?
Right. And Reddit is renowned for being a bit of a soy forum, to be honest. So I don't know if it's like, if you wanted the most faithful representation of MGTOW, and I'm not saying that the subreddit for MGTOW isn't that, but it definitely wouldn't be the first place I would go. So that's a very sort of way of looking at things. you can only expect so much from these normie commentators in general, because they seem to be about 10 years behind on pretty much everything. And if you go into interviews with them expecting to have a conversation, and I've noticed this with dissident people of any stripe, anti-establishmentarians, when they get interviewed on normie radio or whatever, Karen Strawn, although she's at the more she's closer to the mainstream than I or Derek are, I guess. But what they'll do is, it's not that they won't let you speak or that they shout over the top of you, although they sometimes do that as well. It's that every 15 seconds or every time you want to introduce a new point, and this is true even for conservative talk radio hosts, for example, who are supposed to be a bit edgy, they'll expect you to pay penance, or that's not the word I'm looking for, to pay lip service to progressive pieties every time you're about to say something controversial. So they expect you to set up all these sandbags of please don't call me a name, misogynist or racist being the most likely ones, because I'm about to say something controversial. Of course I acknowledge that women suffered throughout history and blah blah blah. And they expect you to say this, and if you don't do it, they'll do it for you. Of course, so-and-so isn't, they'll speak on your behalf like that, and it's just so annoying with these normies. And because they get everything secondhand from places like Reddit, they don't actually understand the way these anti-establishmentarian politics moves the way it actually does if you're there at the center of it yourself, like I am. So, for instance, there are people who use this term alt-right still. I was looking at this booktuber's channel, this 20-year-old who is British and she reviews books, and that's what I subscribe to her channel for. But she's just made a video a while ago called, yesterday, I think, or earlier today, called The Alt-Right Rabbit Hole, and I haven't watched it yet, but I can, guess what the content of it is going to be. And it's going to be about, extremist right-wingers and racists, or, racial nationalism and whatever. The surreal thing is, nobody uses that term anymore. Since 2016, 2017, the term alt-right, it's pretty much a dead term that was originally adopted by nativists, white nativists of different varieties, trying to push for political change because they're aware of the fact that they're going to be minorities in their own countries within a couple of decades, obviously, but that's besides the point. So that term has now been abandoned, but normies are still using it, and they use it to describe people like Blair White. And when you watch stuff like this, it's where, how, what? You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it's
they
almost
live
because
on another planet.
because Blair White is tolerant towards people who have a view like that, right? She's not going to go and punch someone for no reason, right? And that's where you draw the line, right? You draw the line to anyone who would be civil or tolerant of the group you're actually targeting, and then that way, by median voter theory, style of reasoning, everyone to the right of that person, you hit all of them.
Yeah.
That's my theory.
Oh, the quintessence of this is when Sam Harris, you know who that is, right?
Yeah, I used to. That's what I read in
in
high school. It turned me into such a mean person, but it's good stuff. High schoolers should read Sam Harris, I think.
He said one time that he was nervous about speaking to Douglas Murray, British political commentator. And the reason he was nervous about speaking to him is because Douglas Murray had at some point spoken to Stefan Molyneux, and Stefan Molyneux had at some point spoken to David Duke, or something like that. So he was worried that he was 3 or 4 social nodes removed from David Duke or something. No, sorry, it wasn't David Duke, it was Jared Taylor, of course. So because Sam Harris had talked to someone who'd at some point spoken to Jared Taylor, he was nervous about whether or not he should do that.
This kind of makes him a beta man.
Dude, the whole Jared Taylor hysteria, I've never understood that. That, like, above all of them. Because you just, anytime I see him, well, konnichiwa, everyone. Like, it's just like he's so, like, harmless and such a
Like,
fun
Jared
character. I don't
Taylor is someone
understand.
who believes in complete freedom of association and disassociation. And he is one to do it based on race personally, but think that other people should be allowed to do whatever they want with their properties, right? And of course, the normies hate that because they want forced association all the time. So guess
Well, no, I mean that's why people don't like him. Like that's why people don't like him specifically, because it's very difficult to it's difficult to just make him look like some kind of hateful lunatic because he's, clearly not. So, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. It's like people are complaining about the person who just want to treat everyone like in the way that are, objectively speaking, the most ethically permissible way possible, right? And they have an issue with that, mainly because they can't refute that. Like if someone like Jared Taylor said like something like rape is bad, or we say something like rape is bad, which is what we say, and then the normies sometimes have an issue with that, but they can't like say no. How dare you say rape is bad? Because that's what they actually mean with forced association. Like it's the same thing really. It's just a sexual version of that, but it's still like ethically the same, unethical. So like they can't do it. They can't like attack that without being like complete, without exposing themselves as being like this like murderous scumbag, which most states actually kind of are. And that's the reason why they have an issue with Taylor, because it makes them look awful when they do. Which kind of makes sense because they kind of know at some level that like forced association like is a bad thing, but they can't like accept that it is, like, which is really weird. It's like cognitive dissonance all the way.
The problem is, like, fighting against forced association, it's just not catchy enough. It's not, it's too cerebral, I think. I'm trying to think of maybe another good term. I'm considering using the phrase, abolition is a myth. Because everyone knows what abolition is, right? And instead you just have people revisit that concept and expand it to things like taxation, and obviously all of the regulatory practices too that have their effects. It's like it's so complicated that to even name and to list and to explicate how damaging it is like too much of a chore. But it's abolition of the state, right? Because slavery was just one form of statism, and they do have a common denominator.
Like I actually have seen this cognitive dissonance being like in real, because I was a guy who had an argument in favor of affirmative action because it's like retarded, and then like and then after that he was literally like suggesting that and then when I said it had an argument in favor of private discrimination, right? He accused me of wanting an apartheid state, and I was like, do you like have a brain? Like, how can you even come to that conclusion? Like, do you think? Like, what? Like, it made like absolutely no sense. Well, I guess it would make sense if you're retarded and he is retarded, and not like, gosh, you know what I'm talking about. I'm like, anybody who made a statement is an idiot. That's my point.
So I found a part in this article where they make a claim that's a little bit more contentious and a lot more interesting, and it's right before this orange chart they put up from this MGTOW website that has like a Venn diagram of gender benefits for men versus women. That's very lopsided. But before that, they wrote they give a hypothetical about a horror story where a young man falls for a young woman. They get married, have kids. Years later, she takes all the money and all the kids and leaves behind a broken man. He says, many of us would accuse that single female of being one bad individual, a rarity in an otherwise strong society. Like, that right there is something that, to me, it's a little bit of an indicator that this writer probably doesn't understand, like, how common divorce and things like that are, or even just abuse of like cohabitation laws for alimony, child support, or palimony, whatever. But that's kind of beside the point. Then they continue, or perhaps there is more to the story we do not know.
Fundamentally, it's forced association.
Yeah, but so then they suggest that in that scenario there might be.
This is a rarity. Like when I saw, like when Karen Strong was explaining how it went down when she got divorced, like I thought like that's the really rare case. To actually be fair to your husband and not want to take everything from him. She even told the story about the lawyer that she had trying to get her to lie about her husband, and so she could take more. And this is not uncommon. These lawyers, they're businessmen that just want to make money. Of course they will do that. They don't have they wouldn't be very effective at their job if they really cared about ethics and morals all that much.
And if the legal structure really cared about ethics and morals, then they would not be able to do that, because then there would be presumption of innocence, and there would also be freedom of association and dissociation. But all countries have bad laws that are fundamentally unethical, and that's the reason why people can be unethical, and which is like reliant on having a regulated market. So everybody blames capitalism for like people being exploited or off the rails all the time, no exception.
Yeah, what they're referring to is they think that because MGTOW chalked everything up to hypergamy, basically they never allow for any extenuating circumstances that might explain things better.
Is my sound on? Okay.
Yeah, you're on.
I was just gonna say that if women have this power available to them, they will use it. And as long as it is available to them, and it is, they're going to use it. It's as simple as that. The solution to it is to just not get married. As far as what advantages confer to dating men versus dating women, and this is going back to what we were talking about earlier, I don't really see the evidence that it's more difficult to date women in general. Like in terms of well, yeah, in general.
You're right.
But it's, you have to have realistic expectations. I think that's basically what it comes down to. So to each man, like the amount, how much or how little he chooses to associate with women, or in what ways, is obviously his own decision to make. But what men can expect out of relationships is usually proportional to their SMV. To how high they are on the totem pole, basically, of sexual market value. So, like, for instance, if you're below, say, an 8 out of 10, then don't expect to have a lot of veto power, or to be able to set boundaries, really, in a relationship. Because if you're below an 8 out of 10, then you're fairly replaceable. Because there's 1,000 more like you on, well, these apps that women have access to now.
But it's like,
and obviously it's inversely as you go further down the totem pole, then the benefits that accrue to you drop off proportional to that. So, like, for instance, if you're just completely average, then basically don't expect anything to last, or like long-term commitment, that sort of thing, is less than realistic if you're, say, like a 5 out of 10.
But it's also kind of important to notice that person's like personality also like play a role, like, because if I, for example, have a good personality, right, that is gonna like count for a lot, because like I wouldn't date someone, like, if someone's personality is not what I want it to be, then he's not good enough for me, irrespective like of how hot he is.
That might be true for you, but I'm not sure how true that is for most people, especially for most
people are retarded.
Yes, well, that's, yeah, I agree.
But I really agree with no, well, I agree with everything you said. I just wanted to add some other things, but I need to go and eat now, so I'll try to be back later.
Okay.
See you guys.
Bon appetit.
Derek, did you want to add anything?
No, I think that all sounds pretty reasonable.
Stop masturbating. By the way, so you remember a while ago we were talking about alternative forms of government to, basically privatizing the government, and there's a couple of different ways that this is conceived. One of them is Mencius Morbug's idea, where basically all states dissolve into, and there's actually a term for this that already exists, it just happens to be extremely obscure. What he advocates, and what I think I would advocate in the ideal, in the abstract, whether or not it's practical, is this. It's actually called a corporate republic. And as I understand, the only difference between this and, well, you can read it there, the Wikipedia page, I've dropped it in the library. Hang on, yes, the library. The difference between corporate republicanism and, I guess, conventional ANCAP theories is that it doesn't, it precludes polycentric law, I think. It would be more like the way the corporations run in the Fallout series, although obviously that's a very, like, dystopian look at how it would work. You could do it like where basically just the state is run for the benefit of shareholders, and with a CEO and executives and a board of directors and all the rest of it. The state functions like a business that benefits its shareholders, and the residents can basically come and go as they please. So basically the functions of the state, like courts and so on, and the law would also be a function of that business. Basically just a business becoming the government. And the only real examples of this in history are like the Dutch and British East India companies during the phase of Britain's colonial expansion, where they were detached from the homeland governments for a long time, so they basically became their own de facto systems of government. They had the power to mint coins, put people in jail. They were incredibly wealthy. They had standing armies, and so on. So this is a way that you could dissolve existing state institutions. I do think, though, that in the long run it isn't game theoretically stable for... it isn't game it's one thing if you're talking about some hypothetical scenario where the entire world is like this. The entire world is patchwork, basically. The way Morbug sets out, where everything is just dissolved into corporate republics like this. But in our world, it doesn't seem like it would be to the advantage of any specific faction to set up something like this within the context of an existing state, like to set up a corporate republic in the United States, because it would be immediately rounded on by other powers and strong states like, well, the United States or China and whatever. So that, I think, will basically prevent this from ever happening. Or even if it did ever happen on like a big scale, you would need some kind of larger structure, like federalism, to hold it all in place. Federalism. We've talked about this exact topic before when I was talking about race and, you know, the EU and stuff. But yeah.
It's funny, on the Wikipedia they list Shinra as an example of a corporate republic, which seems a little bit tenuous. But
I don't know what that is.
It's in FF7. It's like the main like antagonist, like corporation groups for the first kind of all of the game, but almost not.
Yeah, but there's also examples from real life, like the British and Dutch East India companies.
Yeah, I mean, there is this problem, right? Like, I see more of a problem of ones that are set up and then based in like a recognition as a corporation for a government. Like I see that as more of the risk than this idea of like other nations having some incentive to invade it and take it over. Because the argument here is there's no tax structure, so it's just you don't really gain anything by taking it over versus just trading with it.
Yeah, that's possible. But they would be at a severe disadvantage, like to anybody with, say, a big military or whatever.
Maybe. I mean, it really is hard to understate though how much of an advantage you are at though if you're just defending yourself. Like literally everything the U.S. does in the Middle East is a pretty good example of that.
Right. Yeah. I was like surprised when I found out this term existed, because like I had the idea in my head of a form of government that's run like a business, but I didn't know there was already like a term for it. It's just very obscure.
Well, and then I wonder how similar this is to the I forgot what was the term for it in America where we had the they were like company towns. I think that's what they were.
Yeah, that's the same thing, more or less the same thing, I think. Just smaller.
It's I guess a small scale example would be like in Zambia. They have like these copper mines, and the subsidy of Glencore basically runs the region where the copper mine is, and they, for I guess logical reason, they just supply the residents with basically everything that you need infrastructure-wise, because they plan on mining that copper for a long time, so it's in their own self-interest to have educated people and functioning systems around, and like the government of Zambia is really upset by that, because when they set it up, they basically paid the corrupt government $20 million, so they would never have to pay taxes again. And they took it. And like there's some activists that are really upset that this part of Zambia works so well. Like, why can't we force them to pay for all of Zambia? Like, yeah, because you made a fucking deal with them. Deal with it.
I don't know. This part about paternalism in the company town sounds like it's this is basically the conservative plan for using government to socially engineer. I guess this is preferable to how the states do it these days. So we'll give them that credit. Welcome back. Do we just call you Kapow in here?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so we were halfway through like a MGTOW article, and then we were talking about not company towns, but what republics? Corporate republics?
Yeah,
You could argue that if
corporate
there's
republicanism, yeah.
you could argue that if there's no government involved, that corporate is typically reserved for like specific legal statuses. I don't know how important that is, though. I guess you could make a similar argument regarding, like, a company.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't have a ton to say about it. I just thought I should bring it up to you because it's interesting.
It is an interesting concept, and I think it's useful to have a few kind of ideas like that. Because typically the one I always went to was the same one Molyneux would go to, the DRO structure, right? Basically just like the insurance company. But this one I think is a little bit easier for people to imagine. It's a shame the company towns largely have a bad reputation, though. It's a little bit of baggage that like minarchist or like anarchist law types didn't need, I don't think. So, did you guys hear about this story about this Twitch streamer that got banned for saying simp?
I juxtaposed with a female Twitch streamer getting a 3-day ban for actually showing her lady bits.
I mean, it's probably a good thing in the long run, to be honest. Not to defend the people who send Twitch streamers money or whatever. It's just, I'm sick of these terms being, like, co-opted by the masses. Like, the term simp, I talked about this a little bit with Derek a while ago. There used to be some kind of, like, a moral lesson embedded into it, that you shouldn't, like, invest too much into a woman too quickly, say, if you're thinking about courting her or whatever. The same way that you wouldn't, spend money on a complete stranger under normal circumstances, unless you already had some kind of established relationship with them, and trusted them. Or if you just, like, keep pining after a woman even when it's clear that she isn't interested in you, and, like, the obvious follies of that. And that's, it's obvious why those things are a problem to bad habits anyway. But as soon as normies get their hands on these terms, it just, like, I mean, I've actually heard women say things like, I was in a relationship with this simp, or I was married to this simp, which doesn't make any sense, because it's like, the whole point of the term simp is that you don't get a relationship out of it. It's like reciprocated investment. That was the whole point of it. So what that means is, effectively, it's just become another term for low-value male, ugly male. Like, that's what it's become, and that's the way that it's used by normal people, especially women, and it's extremely tedious. Same with other terms like, I don't know, nice guy or beta male, and all these other terms, which some of which, yeah. Actually, that was really the one I was thinking of. That as well. Well, incel kind of just means like man I don't like, or man whose views I disapprove of. Like, to most people, it's really tiresome, So yeah, I'm glad she got banned. Fuck her.
It is kind of an interesting take. I suppose that is kind of a silver lining in it, is that what utility is there in the term, and maybe this way, with them sealed away, they'll retain a little bit of their power. I'm just gonna skim this and see if there's anything interesting about the story, but yeah. So it's simp, incel, and virgin. Virgin is, I think, the most interesting inclusion, and they do specify that they must be used in a derogatory manner. So it's not. So this isn't a strictly like Pavlovian ethics perspective, right? This isn't like the N-word where you just say two syllables next to each other, even if it's like part of a different word. Like if you say vinegar with the wrong emphasis, right? You're out.
Yeah, but it's more like, oh my god, you just criticized a woman, lol, incel. Like that's kind of the deal, isn't it? With most people.
Yeah, so like if I was pro incel, then I'd be allowed to say that and use these terms on Twitch because I'm not using it in a derogatory manner. But why can't that apply to the N-word? That's what I really want to know.
Yeah.
Like, if this is the standard, this means that they believe that a typical Twitch user, can reasonably discern, or at the very least, they're people who make the call are capable of making this discernment. In theory, that means it's on the table for other terms also. Or at least it should be. I think that's all there is to this story, though.
I'm kind of detached emotionally from this kind of stuff. Like, I don't expect sense or reason from these websites, or really from anyone. I just have like a very low bar by default for interacting with normie media, and if occasionally they do something intelligent, I'll be pleasantly surprised.
Well, you're gonna hate this next thing I have. This is, I think we could call this an emotional intelligence highlight, but it's really more of like a person, um, not just posting their L online, but like creating a comic for it.
What
And
does that mean,
it's
by the way?
what?
L's.
Loss.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so that's my favorite Twitter now is women posting their losses on social media. But this thing is just like it's the worst thing ever. So the first one, it has these two kids, right? And it's like written in this style. It's supposed to be like they're little kids, which I hate because like it's almost like blackface for children to like depict children speaking this way, particularly ones that are like old enough to be walking around wearing their backpacks. Like these don't look like they would speak this way. But anyway, the one kid's teasing the other one because his mom has a OnlyFans. And I want to go to the next page. Here we go.
I mean,
So then he goes to his mama and says, Jay said you had an OnlyFans. What's a OnlyFans? And this is the mother who clearly has an OnlyFans. She says, OnlyFans is a place I make people like Jay's dad happy for money. And then see, she's grinning. And this is a child just blankly staring at her. And she says, tell him thank you. Sorry, tell him thank his dad for your new Jordans. Then she gets another message, and it's something like for the mom, too. Like, it's gross.
I mean, I don't hate it. I just don't really know what to say about it. What is there to say about this?
Well, it's trying to normalize in like a really smug way this idea of like I'm a mom with an OnlyFans and fuck you for trying to shame me.
Yeah. Imagine having to well, you couldn't explain it to a kid, really. It would be impossible.
Like imagine you're a kid, that's your experience. You grow up as an adult and like this is something your mom had shared on social media like cuz that was her perspective on it. And like just how like shallow and insulting that would seem.
Yeah. Oh well.
Well, I mean, the issue itself, aside from the comic, I actually haven't really thought about that much. Like, it is getting weirder these days. Like, OnlyFans to me seems like, compared to like cam girls, it seems to be like the same thing with escorts versus hookers. Like they think that somehow they're like what's the word? There's a beautiful English word for this. They think that what they do is somehow elevated above this actually dirty, naughty thing when they're basically doing the exact same thing. And when they're then also smug about it, it becomes kind of unbearable.
But you mentioned escorting and prostitution, like of the conventional sort. I think these online, like, surrogate forms of intimacy and prostitution are eventually going to completely supplant and replace prostitution and escorting of the usual sort, which will eventually be made illegal, I think. Like, the kinds of women who might originally have done escorting, for instance, will just move completely into the online domain because they know that they can just go online and get probably more money and not actually have to sexually interact with I don't know, undesirable men physically, just digitally. It just seems an inevitable trajectory. And then also because it's easier and I guess there's a bit less to risk, there'll be more women doing it than before. So
again, the rise of these platforms really, for the longest time, I believed that this is impossible to extract more money for giving less of a sexual service. But those applications, those web services, they have proven that there is enough thirsty men of all ages who will gladly pay a woman to show a little bit of their bits, amounts of money that would probably get you a whole brothel for a whole week. Though I don't actually know the actual rates. I assume that when some of these OnlyFans make $1 million a month, these men must be giving a shit ton of money.
Well,
Yep.
it's partially a numbers game though too, right? Because you could take a picture and then have 50 people on whatever tier get that picture, and then that's 50 times the number of people compared to like one-on-one.
I've considered just stealing some of these like nudes and like selling them on a fake account to earn money. I know I just kind of admitted to wanting to do something that's possibly illegal. I don't actually know. But there you go,
Or like you could even create a bot that just like combs the internet for new nudes and then just posts those.
I would assume that if you use deepfake technology to change parts of the images, you could get away with that.
And then it's transformative. Then it's probably not even illegal anymore. Hashtag not legal advice, but whatever.
Right.
I mean, there was this, what was the name? This one,
You ever wondered
quote-unquote
what
cam
Belgium-
girl, which was a computer model doing cute anime things. I never saw any of that. It seemed to be very popular with, like, I think it was on Chatterbait or something. So there's potential there with, like, technology.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're already crushing it. They're crushing it.
Have you ever wondered what someone like Belle Delphine writes on her tax return forms, where you have to write down your profession? I wonder about that. Like, she probably calls herself an entertainer or a streamer or something like that.
An artist, probably.
She goes model.
Yeah, that's it. That's the euphemism normally. Model.
Oh, but I would give her the benefit of the doubt. She probably writes down performance artist.
Right. Lol.
Well, unless she's one of the ones that got busted a couple of years back.
I'm not sure what you're referring to. I'm not that well
The
versed.
thought audit. Don't you remember the thought audit? The thought audit was an organized campaign to report all e-girls to the IRS, just in case they hadn't reported any of their income, because a lot of them just took the money and didn't think that they needed to ever report it. So you had these really funny meltdowns everywhere. I think it's a little bit in poor taste, but I still think it's quite funny.
Well, it is. It technically is a victimless crime because you can't be that fucking dumb.
Yeah,
But
I
of
don't
course
feel
they
bad though,
proved
because
me wrong. You can be that fucking dumb that you make thousands and thousands of dollars a month and think, nah, that's my money. I became an online hooker for that money. I don't have to pay taxes for that.
So I feel like both sides of it, and where I ended up kind of splitting the baby was it's okay to target any of them if they're pro-government, but if they're anti-government, then they shouldn't be targeted. But yeah, if those bitches are out there voting to increase everyone else's taxes, then I'm all for the comeuppance. Which maybe is just a little bit mean-spirited, but well, there it is.
I don't know. I think I don't like paying taxes, but I know the consequences if I don't. So since I don't see any way out of it easily for me, I just pay them taxes.
Yeah, but that would be a reason to not want that inflicted upon others, right? But I'm saying I kind of am okay with that being inflicted upon others because they are, not really, but partially, or at least symbolically responsible for it being inflicted upon me.
But it's I know snitches get stitches, but it is not like they couldn't have easily prevented that by just not risking. Yeah, it's hard to have empathy for someone who And with some of these airheaded thoughts, I understand that they are too dumb to understand the concept that the fucking IRS could bust down your door if you don't fucking pay your taxes. I mean, that was what originally got Al Capone, and not everyone is savvy that it is something that the government can come after you for. But those people are retards. And yeah, it's evil to report people who are retards, but it's easily preventable to have that happen to you.
Agreed. I'm gonna get caught up with the chat here. I think this is a window that I actually can't use push to talk while reading because it will type the key that I'm holding. Man, I'm sorry, I didn't quite brush off my boomerisms. My goodness. Okay, let's see. We have what is more important, end taxation or audit all e-girls? Well, that's an easy one. Ending the state organocentrism. That's actually a more difficult question. And white men are pretty much the only net tax contributors. Everyone else is a leech. Yep, those are the numbers. But you know, even I don't know if even white men are that much of an offset. I think it was all type.
I'm back.
Ryan Falk did a good video on that one.
I guess it depends on the...
Oh, just my friend's comment in the chat, they said that white men are pretty much the only net tax contributors and everyone else is a leech. And I think that's largely true. Not everyone else. The Asians are still net payers too, I think. Yeah, in America.
Yeah, but they're negligible in other countries, like in Switzerland. Before this coup thing, we basically had next to no debt, so we were actually paying for all of that social program shit with actual taxpayer money, and in that situation it's clear that the men obviously contribute at least as much as the women take out of the system. In countries that finance their social systems through debt, I don't know how, it's probably still the same trend, but it might be less extreme.
But all these social programs for like women and minorities and so on, it is basically whitey paying for it by force through the tax system, especially white men. So yeah, it's a conundrum. So I don't know what to.
I mean, in that regard, making debt that the future children or the people that will be living in the country in the future will pay is in a sense an offset to that, because as Joe Biden has enlightened us, in 2040 whitey will be the minority in America, so the other people will have to pick up that check. So it's very cynical, but it's a thing.
Yeah.
The next article I have is about India, and it's kind of just amusing just because of all of the like ludicrously, outrageously sexist thing that they just put up on their metro. And this back and forth is pretty amusing. The story is a little bit of a white pill story because I guess this men's group in India, they're just these male Indian Karens just going after all these groups whenever they put up these offensive signs and holding them accountable. And it seems like more often than not, they're able to get stuff taken down and get a little bit of outrage. So it's a little bit of good news, but the whole thing's a little bit outrageous too. But we can stand some Indian male Karens getting some shit done for the MRM.
Yeah, why not let Bob the vegan do something good for once?
Yeah, like they put up this sign that said, "Do you know why we don't have a men's coach in Metro? That's because there are hardly any men in Delhi. Hashtag stop molesting, be a man." Like, they just, the lack of subtlety is just amazing.
Cringe.
Yeah, it's awful. Like, it's, so not only is it outrageous, but it's, like, poorly done and just, like, so bold. And this was pretty amusing. Let's see what... Okay, this must be their official Twitter. They're called Men's Day Out. I'm gonna go ahead and follow them. I like their style. Like, this is something I think... People say they don't want the MRM to be a mirror of feminism. I have a much more permissive attitude towards that than I think anyone else. I say if these men want to go full feminist, you know, titties out in front of the church, running around screaming or whatever, making sculptures out of dried semen.
I personally find it distasteful because it's just a waste of time. But yeah, I mean, they can do whatever works for them, I guess.
I mean, there is this problem where like the impetus for these issues to even arise, for them to have a thing to complain about, right? By getting them to not say the thing, it is just kind of putting a band-aid on something more fundamental.
Yeah.
They point out an interesting double standard here, where they juxtapose it with a stat that said 90% of pickpockets in Delhi Metro are women. And they caution which 8 stations to watch out for. And then, yeah. They gave other examples, too, of stuff that they had spoken out about, that they had gotten, like, taken down. Okay, looks like it's mostly just about this sign here. I'm still really bummed that my headphones didn't work at all.
There might be solutions, but yeah, we should probably look at this when there's no stream going on. Maybe it can help. But I don't know. I don't want to make promises that I cannot keep.
Yeah, well, the tricky thing though is sometimes it just seems like you're not even sure if it's gonna work until like the moment to click the thing for it to start. But I guess maybe the solution to that is a full-blown test stream or something. But in any case, I'm going to see what other there was one other article I found here. This was something Brian I saw posted on Facebook this morning. I don't know. I guess this is kind of like junky news, but I thought it was interesting. More like junk news, not junky. This isn't about drugs, I don't think. Let's see. Arrested Development star David Cross responds to Biden's call for unity, saying, "Fuck that. I want blood." And, like, the funny thing is, I don't actually take issue with this sentiment. I just take issue with, like, the sentiment from his perspective. Like, I find it really funny that, like, they get their win, right? They get their president, and you're like, cool, are you happy? Are you thinking about all the cool stuff you're going to do? They're like, no, we're fucking bloodthirsty. We want to keep going. And it's like, what is that? What does this even mean? Like, what do you even want? Because you recall, like in the wake of the 2016 election, I don't think there was much like violent fervor among pro-Trump people. I think mostly it was people who were very, very happy and excited and optimistic for the future. This is
like
a different attitude.
The lock her up movement, it kind of died down when Trump had won. Like there was very
which
few
is
people who
unfortunate.
still demanded like Hillary Clinton to get what she deserves, actually. So this is a weird, like the supposedly evil Trump supporters, they kind of let it all go after he won, and like the supposedly good anti-Trump is like, now we want like this struggle sessions for them. We want to hunt them down. Is anyone making lists?
Yeah, that was outrageous. I don't even know what else to say about that. That was earlier this month, too.
It feels like longer ago than it actually is. But my perception of time during the coup has really waned.
Oh, mine is totally crazy. Yeah, when I think back to January, it feels like ages ago. But then things that happened maybe from like March onwards feel like they weren't that long ago. Definitely a slower year on average, I guess I'd have to admit.
yeah, the concept of wanting blood, that kind of in like regions like Portland and where like the places where the big riots were, and the governors and mayors just said, let these people go. We won't press any charges. Like that culture of being out for blood is already well established, sadly.
I'm seeing if he kept this tweet up, because in a following tweet, he like is shit talking about it, and it'd be really funny if he had since taken the tweet down. I don't see it. I don't know.
This is just funny because like I recently discovered Mr. Show, like the thing that he and what's the dude from Breaking Bad's name? Better Call Saul dude. Bob Odenkirk or something.
I'm not sure what that actor's name is, but you saw the actor who plays him.
Yeah, the actor who played Saul Goodman. They had like this comedy show which I only discovered because the first time Tenacious D had like on-screen presence before they got on HBO, and that show is. I wonder when they're gonna come for this dude for what they did on that show, because I think it's actually quite funny, but he should know that he's on the wrong side of history with the people that he surrounds himself with.
Apparently we're having... Oh. I think my connection is really slow for some reason. A lot of pages are taking a while to load. People say the stream's buffering.
Yeah, so...
So, he had called out somebody who I guess wrote this at him. Come and try pussy soy lib Hollywood girl woman. Which I think is really funny.
Still got it.
Yeah, I think it's a funny thing. Yeah, and then all of the woke Hollywood stars like band together. It's all so just like it's just not intoxicating, but infuriating.
Nauseating?
Nauseating, that's the word I'm looking for. Well, I think that's enough of the news items. I don't know if what other interesting things happened. I think we talked about all the important stuff.
I mean, I could talk about, like, one of my, like, theory of consciousness, but that might take a while.
Should we plan on discussing that another time to, like, make a dedicated thing of it?
I don't know.
Or if you want,
Yeah,
you
probably.
could try and, like, maybe partially kind of sketch it out as, like, a preview, depending on however, I don't know what configuration it's in your brain or whatever.
Yeah, I'll save it for another time. It's fine.
I mean, there was another thing, but I didn't thought it was worthy of the library. Like, I found this through like a bogus journalist award that they gave out, where they had 11 categories, and of course 10 out of 11 were the winners were female. So I looked like into like what have these women done that is so outstanding and brave that they would win all these categories. And one of them had like this a retweet about that cancel culture is the same kind of far-right myth as PC culture was in the 90s. Like the political correctness stuff that never happened, that neither did cancel culture. It's just a myth, you know.
Yeah, that was the narrative for a while.
It was
Is that
kind of funny, like sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say it was funny that you'd simultaneously hear people saying cancel culture is a good thing, but also cancel culture isn't real.
Yeah, and then the response is a lot of people said, "Oh yeah, I agree. It's why do they keep making up these terms?" And one said, "Yeah, but what happened to so and so?" And they basically say, "Yeah, but they deserved that." Like, so you admit that their jobs were attacked, the bosses were contacted, they were doxxed, but as long as you think that that was correct to do because they're evil people, cancel culture exists and is a good thing. But it actually doesn't exist, and why would anyone ever say that it does?
Yeah, well, you said the word "but," so they just kind of flip the brain over. They have one half of the brain for one reality, and then the other one, and you say the word "but," right? Or you create, the two contradictions, and you just flip your brain halfway.
Yeah, it must work something like that. That's yeah, but it's really I didn't even know that there's people claiming that political correctness was just like a myth, because that was my youth, was the gladness of the rejection of this political correctness in the media. It was a short-lived time where things were looking up, and people were making fun of all of the bullshit that was demanded, and the feminists and the intersectional, they didn't call themselves that, but I guess back then they just went into hiding, and people thought they were gone, when actually they just climbed the ranks of academia and got into powerful positions in media, and then they came back with a vengeance, and now what they're doing now is also a myth, I guess. It's never real if you say it's bad. It's only real if you say it's good. Also, I like that they say that it was a made up thing by the right wing, when literally Bill Maher's big show in the 90s was politically incorrect, and he's how should I say this? I don't think he's very conservative.
Sorry, who is that?
Bill Maher.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know the face.
Yeah,
Actually,
God, I can't stand the fact that
used to
Bill
be funny.
Maher. God, but it drives me insane that he gets to be like the face of calling out PC culture or whatever, and I just hate how it's just shooting fish in a well, is shooting fish in a barrel supposed to be easy? It's supposed to be easy. I think that sounds hard, but that's what I mean. That it's easy, I mean, not hard.
Well, I think what he is to like the United States is like, well, with him it's a bit more complicated because he's Jewish, and his politics are a bit difficult to define, a bit ambiguous. But I think the function that Bill Maher serves in the American media is similar or analogous to the function that Piers Morgan plays in British media. Piers Morgan is like, he's sort of like this astroturfed, that's the word I'm looking for, this astroturfed version of the ordinary everyday English white guy. So like, for instance, they'll get him on with one of these like stupid POC academics to argue with him about white privilege theory or something, disagreeing with it, because that's giving like the ordinary British public a little bit of what they want. But then they'll also roll him out to castigate COVID idiots and whatever. That's a term he coined, I think. If they, I don't know, violate lockdown protocols or whatever it might be. So it's a way of sort of like, it's like a bit of a release valve to the establishment, where there are these people in place who will give ordinary people who are dissatisfied with the establishment a little bit of what they want, but only within their parameters. And I think that's kind of the function that Bill Maher serves as well to the American public. He's like the allowed form of dissidence, if that makes sense.
Yeah, or almost like a controlled opposition.
Yes.
But it's such a narrow
AstroTurf.
scope, you know.
That's the
Like with Alex Jones, right? He'd be a controlled opposition that's much more like broad in scope, like the all-encompassing thing. Whereas with Bill Maher, it's a controlled opposition within like a specific realm of things that are especially non-taboo to question, apparently.
Yeah, I guess.
It seems like a bit of a grift, right? It's almost as though they're creating or fostering or at least tolerating a culture of leftism that is lax towards a bunch of standards that are being held to increasingly strict degrees, right? And it's just going to basically create more opportunities for people who benefit from, policing it. And I wonder how much of that might be by design. Probably more
Yeah.
so just naturally synergistic. I try to lean more towards that in an interpretation rather than assuming that there's a lot of agency in the planning, but
Well,
makes
that's. I
sense.
mean, it's not
It probably
unreasonable.
depends. I think
But
what you said about Piers Morgan, that might be actually true, because the concept of Bill Maher is tried and proven, so why not have a British version of that?
Yeah, well, it's not that there has to be like a huge overarching conspiracy, but that like you don't even have to believe that to accept this thesis. You just have to accept that there are people within the establishment, not the entirety necessarily, but there are people there who are basically getting what they want, the globalists, and I'm not using that term as a euphemism, like I mean just that, who want certain views to be put in place and to be off limits to the public. So they have these, well, you use the term controlled opposition. Astroturfing is another term where like there's this illusion of resistance to the system that's actually being created by the system. And people have similar theories about like QAnon, for instance, and all the conspiracy theories that come out of that. And as much as there is like just a natural niche for that, or a certain type of personality that is attracted to conspiracy theories, there is also good evidence, I think, to suggest that a lot of it is orchestrated, basically from the top down. It's like the way they think about it is like, okay, so if you're going to oppose the system, if you're going to oppose our order, the establishment, we're going to basically make sure that you oppose it in the most stupid and dead-end and unproductive ways possible, so that you don't get in a way with us trying to orchestrate our plans. And there are people who think that's what QAnon is, and that's also the function that people like, these TV hosts serve, or Alex Jones or whoever.
That reminds me of a funny thing with there's a parallel of reality TV and people who watch like shows that are obviously at least partly staged, if not completely fake. That even when you present them with evidence that it is actually just made to make you think that it's real, that when I talked to some people who were really into Greta Thunberg, and I presented them with like this guy with the green social media platform who apparently randomly discovered it by taking a detour of more than a kilometer on his way to work, and they were like, "Nah, I just don't want to believe that this is a planned and astroturfed thing, because it feels right to me." Like, it's the same. I guess they understood that Alex Jones, I don't know any evidence for him being genuine or somehow orchestrated, but I'm pretty sure that if there was evidence that he's like a paid shill controlled opposition, that most of his fans would just refuse to believe that, even if there was very strong evidence for that, which I'm not aware of. This is a psychological effect that I never understood in people, because I can like something or think something or something for a long time, and when someone presents me with hard evidence that is somehow not what I thought it was, maybe it's a sad parting, like accepting, oh, I fell for it, ooh, shame on me, but I don't actually get that attached that I would keep believing an obvious lie once I was presented with evidence that it is an obvious lie. But maybe I'm a bit atypical when it comes to that. Most people, I assume, would actually just want to keep believing what they have believed for however long they believed it.
I think most people want certainty, and the comfort that comes with certainty. I think that's like the origin of it, basically. What you're describing, I mean.
Yeah,
But yeah.
You might be right about that. Very likely so, yeah.
I think there's kind of like a coherentist entropy in people's thought systems, right? Like you have a belief system, and then obviously the more things you believe, the more you're going to have prejudices that favor beliefs that are more synergistic with the ones that you already believe. And of course, the inverse would be true of things that are contradictory or cause cognitive dissonance. And I think when it comes to very like conspiratorial things, it's very appealing because it ties up a lot of loose ends. You know, it does a lot of wild speculation in areas where you don't really know one way or another. But because it's trying to see and create really just a whole perfect picture, you can kind of see how it naturally falls into place. And then the alternatives just feel like less complete. They feel like they have less explanatory power. They make you feel like you know less, right? So it makes sense that there's a natural prejudice that kind of favors falling into what I guess becomes one or another like archetype, right? Of what makes sense depending on I guess what beliefs you either hold at the highest priority or just like happen to encounter first. And I think it's kind of like a ball, right? Like if you imagine you're holding a ball and you're looking at it, right? And you see like Alex Jones is like at the top of the ball, and then like there's this whole sphere around everything he's talking about, right? That fits into that nice little bubble. But then maybe you think, oh, what if he's actually just controlled opposition? So now you have like a ball that's slightly bigger, and you still have like most of that same kind of outer edge, like with Alex Jones, right? But then you have like the edges just continue downward a little bit, and now there's this whole other area of another thing, like recontextualizing it. But like the Alex Jones gatekeeper theory is largely consistent with a huge number of things that Alex Jones talks about anyway, which makes kind of a funny overlap between people who are like diehard, you know, InfoWars, like taken at face value, boomers, and then people who, you know, are also skeptical of that too, have taken it to like another degree. So I think it all makes sense. I hope that made sense.
Yeah.
Also, Jim, I'm not watching the goddamn Walton Files on this stream. You've asked too many times. So, no.
It was like a curve in my brain, like, I'm kind of interested. Why does he want us to watch it? And it curved down again, like,
It looks
shouldn't.
interesting. It looks like kind of a cool like creepy clay thing with different like mixed mediums. Or like it looks interesting. I just don't understand why they're mentioning it.
I might do bacon sandwiches in a while.
Nice. We're still eating Christmas food. It's been great.
Yeah.
I ate tacos
I got
today.
tons of chocolates.
I have a lot of chocolates too. It's a little bit ridiculous.
I ain't got shit. Though we did have a Christmas celebration that was way too normal for these times. Probably broke some rules. I don't care. It was nice.
Yeah, I guess ours was a little bit smaller, obviously, than usual, which for me was kind of nice because I had become accustomed over the last couple of years to having very, very, very small Christmases, so it works out great for me, and that's what is important.
So no beer can Christmas tree this year.
Oh yeah, did I ever show that to you? That's very old.
I just it's the first thing that pops into my head when I relate the term space pan with Christmas.
Yeah, I totally made a tree when I was living in China. Well, yeah, I guess I'll admit we did steal a traffic cone. It's a good thing the Chinese government never found out. That could have been messy. So we stole.
Are they also called pylons in English?
Maybe they do call them that. I thought that was just a StarCraft thing. It'd be funny if they started calling them pylons after the fact, like after StarCraft, and then pretended that's what they said the whole time. That would be the one reason I'd want to be dictator of a state, is
What
to
pylons?
enforce pranks like that.
So, what do you call them? Like transmission towers?
No, we call them traffic cones. I mean like an orange cone. So no one calls
Oh,
those
right.
pylons, because that does seem a little bit insane.
I mean, a large proportion of people call them 3D printed VLC symbols or something.
Yeah.
I didn't know
Apparently,
that they were called
what's-
pylons, but in German they apparently have always been called that.
Yeah.
Just nobody fucking knew.
Apparently, electrical transmission towers, or that's what they're called elsewhere. We call them pylons in Britain. Spelled Pylon.
Oh, well, they're similar in shape. Maybe it comes from some geometrical term or something.
Yeah, probably. I'll look it up now. Why not?
Qingdao beers are red and green with a little bit of gold on them. So they make the perfect Christmas tree beer cans because they're very cheap. You can get the tall ones. And they're Chinese, and of course China #1. So you want to support China and get your Qingdao beers, because that's a lot better than getting Mexican beer. We all know that.
Do the Hong Kongers have tall boys, or what they're called?
Well, yeah,
Or
any
is it-
gas station has the short ones and the taller ones.
Because around here we just have the short ones that are like, for some reason, 33 period 3 centiliters, and the tall ones are just half a liter, but there's no bigger ones. I've seen in America they have what they think they call a tall boy, which is probably like I don't know what you call that. I can't do imperial. I'm sorry, but it's definitely much taller than the half liter ones that we have here.
Well, it's like a pint. The tall ones are like a pint.
But isn't a pint close to half a liter? They look much bigger than that.
Yeah, a pint is about 580 milliliters, from what I can remember.
So maybe it's just 500, so it's slightly short of a pint.
That's the Hong Kongers. The tall ones are basically the pint or half liter ones.
I think they're usually
not,
500 milliliters, so half liter.
I mean, I just know that in America you sometimes have, I think they call them tall boys, which is like something more, and the Australians they go wide instead of high. And that's the two things that I envy about those cultures. I can't really think of anything else on top of my head, but bigger beer cans is never a bad idea.
I also found some very, very small beer cans that were very, very entertaining. There was a very tiny Asahi that was like, how big was it? It was almost like the size of a shot glass. It was so little.
I've got to head off, by the way. I'll see you guys later.
Okay, I'll probably wrap
You
in the
will.
stream up here soon, because I think we went through all the stuff. So maybe I'll plan
Right.
another one for New Year, and I won't
See
even
you
try to
later.
use the headphones. Anyway, see ya.
Have fun.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess we covered pretty much everything. Oh, you know what else? As long as we're on the topic of like funny, interesting boozes, I tried pear beers the other day. They were almost like pear ciders that were super sour. Almost not quite as sour as like a Warhead, but like those candies, you know. That was really good.
Well, I don't know those candies, but I know sour candy.
Like Warheads were
Pear
always the most
beer.
like
Why
intensely
not
sour
pear wine,
candies.
or cider? How is it beer?
It's so I know. Well, they made it look like a beer, but I guess it was like an ale. But it was like it was very cidery. So I don't know.
Well, the whole craft beer stuff really threw me off. I thought I knew what beer was, but now all of these hipsters are brewing their stuff all over the place, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give it a try.
Yeah, they
The
take
worst
all kinds
thing
of
I ever
crazy
had
liberties.
was strawberry Weizen, this is like Bavarian type of beer, where it's like it's not clear, it's like kind of whitish, and that was the most egregious thing that I ever put in my mouth, like strawberry beer.
Doesn't
In
sound
theory,
too.
it could work. In practice, oh god, no.
Yeah, I could see that going wrong, but it does sound like probably pretty good. I think.
They just fucked it up because they were like really proud to have hired a female brewmeister, and they basically let her do whatever she wanted, and all the beers that she created were terrible. And I was like, maybe it's something that women like. So I had some women I know try them, and they're like, no, this is horrible. But of course, they couldn't tell their female token that she was doing a terrible job, because they have bragged about her so much that they couldn't really fire her.
Really, I
Would've
wasn't
made me
expecting
look
it to be
bad.
one of those stories. Every time. No, you know what I got is there were like these limited edition beers that were like they were like dark chocolate mint little beers, just the little cans. And I thought, oh, I'll get these and give one to a couple of friends, and they'll see if they like them because they seem kind of Christmassy. And I don't know, they seemed to like them. I hated it. I tried it, and I was like, ooh, maybe I should taste things before I give them to people. But apparently, they thought they were good. I thought it tasted like mouthwash.
Ooh. And some
Yeah.
people like that. Like, my brother's friend, for his birthday, they gave him Berlin Air, it's called, like Berliner Luft. And it's really just like strong alcohol. I don't know the percentage. And it tastes like my mouthwash. So I had a
Yeah.
hard time actually drinking it when I was given the shot. Like, my instinct tells me to spit it out, because it's unhealthy to drink your mouthwash.
Yeah, right.
But
Yeah.
some people like that kind of shit. That's okay, you know.
Well, some people eat baby powder too, so.
I don't. What? Baby powder?
Oh, you gotta look that up. It's a very fascinating rabbit hole to go on. There are people who. So there's pica, right? Which just means you eat non food objects, and typically a person with pica will like get fixated on a particular thing. And I guess there's a significant proportion of the pica community that are all addicted to eating baby powder. Then it's the talc, and like you can kind of get away with eating it for a while and quite a lot of it before you have like major issues, but it kind of just builds up. So it's yeah, and like everyone
I
has
only
this.
know people who there was like a bunch of people who eat toilet paper.
Yeah, it's
But
the
as
same
long
kind of
as
thing.
there's
Or people
no-
who eat like
As long
couch
as there's
stuffing.
no chemicals on it, that it's. I guess it's not unhealthy because it's just cellulose, whatever you say in English.
Sometimes I'd eat a little bit of paper, kind of for fun, especially if it was like fresh out of print or like warm. I don't know. Not like a whole
Yes.
piece of paper. That's a little bit ridiculous.
No, but I guess unless there's something unhealthy or poisonous added to the paper or printed on the paper, that's not harmful. Might even be
Maybe-
good for your digestive tract to have like something that's completely undigestible, pushing out those nasty old pieces of shit that get accumulated in your lower intestine.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of
I
that.
never had the urge to try it, so I don't fucking know.
But yeah, well, every person who gets addicted to baby powder, they seem to all have the same story, which is, so I heard that some people like to eat baby powder, and I thought that was really weird. So I tried it, and I ate some of it, and I didn't like it, and I thought that was awful. So then I ate more of it, and then I started to kind of get used to it, and now I really like it, and this is my favorite kind.
That's literally smoking cigarettes on steroid.
Yeah. And there was a YouTuber. She was like the baby powder eating queen, and she has not posted a video in many months. So
I guess one has to hope that she didn't suffer dire consequences.
Yeah. Or maybe she quit eating it. Maybe she kicked it and she just dropped it where it was and moved on.
Baby Powder Eaters Anonymous. Lost
There we
another member.
go. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and close out the stream. Happy New Year to everyone. I think everybody is ready for a Happy New Year. Hopefully, I hope we're not too optimistic, though, because, you know, it's probably going to be pretty similar. I think people overestimate, right, how much things are supposed to change just because, you know, the calendar changes.
It's also a pretty arbitrary point in time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it could literally have been any other point in the year, right?
I just like the fact that the Earth has circled around the Sun, full circle. That's always nice. It's the kind of stability that I like.
It would be nice, though, if we could change it. If we could get it to go just like 4 days faster, so it'd be an even number.
Well, I think that it is mathematically proven that there was a point in time where the year was 360 days. Like the speed of the Earth rotating around the Sun has diminished slightly over the millennia. Would have been grand to have been alive back then. I mean, probably would be dead by now, but 360, that's a nice number of days for a year.
Hey, maybe we'll get 365 then. Wait, is that what it is? Unless it's 364?
It's 365.
No,
This
it's not
year-
quite because of
this
leap
year.
year.
It's 366 because we have what's the word? Not leap year.
Oh, that's right, because we have the non-leap years. Okay, so I had it backwards. Oh, we missed it. Yeah, we missed both the good even numbers.
Yeah, but people made fun of like it wouldn't have. I would have forgotten that there was a 29th of February if people hadn't made fun of the fact that out of all the years that could have been 1 day longer, it had to be 2020. So.
Any big plans or goals for the new year?
Well, finish some projects, I guess. But that's always my prerogative, no matter if there's like an arbitrary change in dates. Nothing. Like I have this idea for a web application that might be profitable, morally maybe a little bit questionable, but legal. So I hope I get that done soon, which would be nice.
Nice. It looks like Terrence in the chat, his plan for the new year is to find high-end craft dirt for his new pica hobby, which we fully support and endorse, particularly because I'm sure that all of the best stuff is going to come from China. And I'm probably going to I think I decided against changing the channel name, but I think I'll use a different name on like some of these other social medias. Like people are using 3Speak and was it called Odyssey with like SEE like C? There's those two and like D Live. So I think I might try and branch out to some of that and then obviously make some videos so that I have stuff to put on the other websites that I register for. So it'll be a busy year and and hopefully a pretty nice one.
One can only hope.
And then I guess for the next